Is the global financial system about to experience a massive shift? The petrodollar, a cornerstone of USA dominance for nearly half a century, may be on the verge of collapse. Could this be the end of America's global economic power as we know it? And if so, what does that mean for the rest of the world? You won't believe how this could impact your wallet, the global energy market, and the future of money. Stay tuned as we uncover the shocking reality behind the possible end of the petrodollar era. Before we dive into the details, let's break down what the petrodollar actually is. Back in the 1970s, the U.S. struck a deal with Saudi Arabia, making the U.S. dollar the only currency accepted for oil trade worldwide. This arrangement has helped fuel the global dominance of the dollar, allowing the U.S. to maintain a strong grip on the global economy for decades. But recent developments are threatening to unravel this long-standing system. Countries like China and Russia are making moves to bypass the U.S. dollar when it comes to trading oil. We're seeing shifts in global alliances, the rise of alternative currencies, and new technologies like digital currencies, all of which are challenging the petrodollar's position. The question is, can the petrodollar system survive? Or are we witnessing the dawn of a new economic era? Let's explore what's happening, why it matters, and what the future might hold. Before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. Comment "I subscribe" below and I will personally welcome you to our community. With that said, let's get started. The cracks in the petrodollar system. So what exactly is putting pressure on the petrodollar system? Let's look at the key cracks that are threatening to end this decades-old arrangement. First, countries like Russia and China have started bypassing the US dollar in their oil trades. In 2019, Russia and China began conducting transactions using their own currencies, the ruble and the yuan. This move sent shockwaves through the global economic community, because it was one of the first signs that countries were ready to step away from the dollar. Second, there's the rising geopolitical tension and economic sanctions. The US has imposed heavy sanctions on countries like Iran and Russia, making it difficult for them to use the dollar for international trade. These countries have responded by seeking alternatives. Iran has already started trading oil in other currencies, and Russia is building financial ties with China, relying less on the dollar. Third, the influence of BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, cannot be ignored. These countries are increasingly calling for a multipolar world, where the US doesn't hold so much financial sway. Together, they are working on creating alternative financial systems to reduce their dependence on the dollar. What happens if the petrodollar ends? If the petrodollar system collapses, the ripple effects would be felt globally. Here are a few scenarios that could unfold in the US. The dollar could lose a significant portion of its value. Over 60% of global reserves are held in US dollars. If fewer countries need dollars to trade oil, there could be less demand for the currency, causing it to devalue. This would lead to higher inflation, making imports more expensive and squeezing consumers on the global stage. The US would lose a critical tool for projecting its economic power for decades. The US has been able to run massive deficits because of the demand for dollars in global trade. Without this demand, the US government would have to make some tough financial choices. But it's not just about the UST. This shift would also create uncertainty in energy markets. If oil starts being priced in multiple currencies, it could lead to volatility. With fluctuating oil prices depending on the strength of different currencies, that instability could hurt both emerging markets and developed economies, which are highly dependent on oil imports. What could replace the petrodollar now? Let's talk about the alternatives. If the petrodollar era ends, what could take its place? The Chinese yuan is emerging as the most likely contender. China is the world's largest oil importer, and they've been working hard to position the yuan as a viable alternative to the dollar. They've even created the Shanghai International Energy Exchange, where oil can be traded in yuan. China is also building partnerships with major oil-producing countries like Saudi Arabia and Russia, further boosting the yuan's influence in global oil markets. Another possibility is the rise of digital currencies. Countries like China and Russia are already developing central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, that could be used for global trade. These digital currencies offer a way to bypass traditional banking systems and US financial control. China has already rolled out the digital yuan, which could soon be used for international oil transactions. Finally, we might see a multi-currency system emerge. where different regions use their own preferred currencies for trade. This would reduce the dominance of any one currency, making the global financial system more decentralized but potentially more unstable. What does this mean for you? So what does all of this mean for you and your everyday life? For Americans, the end of the petrodollar era could mean higher inflation, higher interest rates, and a more fragile economy. If the dollar weakens, imports will become more expensive, hitting everyday items like groceries, electronics, and fuel the U.S. Government might also have to cut back on spending, leading to budget cuts in areas like healthcare, infrastructure, and defense. For people outside the U.S., the collapse of the petrodollar could bring economic instability. Many developing countries rely on the stability of the U.S. dollar for their financial systems. If that stability disappears, it could lead to currency crises in vulnerable nations. On the flip side, if countries like China and Russia succeed in creating alternatives, they could gain more influence in global trade and geopolitics. Finally, for everyone, this shift could mean more volatile energy prices. If oil is traded in multiple currencies, the price you pay for gas or heating could fluctuate depending on the value of those currencies. This could create instability in the energy market, leading to unpredictable costs. Conclusion: the petrodollar system has been the backbone of the global economy for nearly 50 years, but its future is now uncertain. With rising geopolitical tensions, new global alliances, and the rise of alternative currencies, we may be witnessing the beginning of the end for the petrodollar. What comes next could reshape the world's financial order. So, what do you think? Is the petrodollar era coming to an end, or can it adapt to survive? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more insights into global economics, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on the latest developments. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this video informative, be sure to check out my other videos on global finance, economic shifts, and the future of money. Until next time, stay informed and keep questioning the status quo.